I just thought, why wouldn't I share my story? I can't be the only woman that's going through this. I wanted women to know that this option was available for them, that they could have a mastectomy and potentially save their own lives. When you have a breast cancer gene mutation, you have around a 72% risk of developing breast cancer in your lifetime. After surgery, you can take that down to 1%, and I like those odds. My journey started with my mother. She was diagnosed with a very invasive breast cancer at 27. At the time, she was a marathon runner. She was finishing up her second master's degree and really the peak of health. And she felt a lump in her breast and went to her doctor, and they said, "You're too young to have breast cancer. Come back and see us in 6 months." And she said, okay, went home and really was just feeling run down from her races and not recovering the same way that she always did before. And so she decided to advocate for herself. She went back, started pressing, and they finally gave her a mammogram. And the results came back, stage 3 invasive ductal carcinoma at 27 years old. And at the time, my mom wasn't married. She didn't have any children. And her first thought wasn't, oh my God, I'm going to die. It was, I'm not married. I don't have kids. And who's ever going to love me with one breast? And so that was a very emotional experience for her. But fortunately, my mom beat that breast cancer. And a couple of years later, I came along. But cancer was always part of the conversation in my family. But it was framed in the sense of my mom's a survivor. But unfortunately, my mom was diagnosed again with a stage 3 invasive ductal carcinoma when she was 47. And so almost my entire adolescence, my mom was battling breast cancer. And again, that was part of the conversation in my family. And my mom passed away just prior to my 16th birthday. So I was really navigating all of my adolescence, my special moments in my life, turning 16, going to prom, going off to college, having my first boyfriend, all of these sort of like crowning achievements in your life without my mom. And I knew that if I were to ever become a mother, I didn't want that to be the situation that my daughter went through. I didn't want any 16-year-old girl to know what it's like to live the rest of her life without her mom. So at 18, my dad sat me down and brought up the idea of having a preventative mastectomy. And I was a late bloomer, and I said, "Are you crazy? I just got these things. I'm not getting rid of them." So I totally rebuffed him, said, "No way." And he looked me straight in the face and he said, "You're going to end up dead, 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 just like your mom." And that was a pretty aggressive thing, I think, to say to somebody who was 18, who had just lost their mom 2 years prior. But it really gave me that long-term perspective that I needed, that this was a part of my family history. I hadn't just lost my mom. It was my grandmother. It was my great aunt. It was really all of the women in my family on both sides had lost their lives to breast cancer. And this was something serious, and I needed to have long-term perspective. So after talking to my dad at 18, having that really uncomfortable conversation with him, it started this sort of conversation in my mind of maybe I do have a preventative surgery. And so as the years went by, I started to realize the wisdom in his remark. My dad wanted me to be alive, and I wanted to be alive for my family. I knew what it was like to grow up without a mom, and I didn't want that for my children. I didn't want that for my future husband. And so I competed in the Miss America pageant, I competed in Miss USA pageant, and I had this incredible viral moment where I had spoken about my decision, and it was really picked up by media outlets all over the world. And I was given this opportunity to really speak to my generation about preventive healthcare and why it's important. And with that viral moment, I knew you don't get this opportunity very often. And I thought, what am I going to do with that? So when I really made the decision to have my mastectomy, I was coming off of competing in Miss USA, competing in Miss America, but women in the industry really weren't talking about this. It wasn't part of the conversation, particularly women in the beauty industry. So I was a full-time model. So much of my identity was really tied up in the way that I looked. That's how I faced the world. And it was a really difficult decision to not only have the surgery, but to speak publicly about it and to share that I was going to undergo this very intense personal medical decision. But then I thought to myself, I want to be alive for my future husband, for my future children. And this is the priority for me. And if I was going to let my vanity be the thing that was at the forefront of my mind instead of choosing to live, that didn't make sense to me. So I made the difficult decision to undergo the procedure. And honestly, it has taken that dark looming cloud of cancer that's been there my entire life away. And I've never looked back, and I know that this was absolutely the right decision for me. So in making the decision to share this very personal medical decision, I knew I couldn't be the only woman that was going through this, that there were other young women navigating it. And the difficult thing is I wanted to offer them a resource when they had reached out to me post-viral experience saying, what type of surgery did you have? What reconstruction options are available? And there was nothing. You really had to get a PhD in Google to learn about all the options that were available to you. And physicians weren't being open with that information. So I had just finished law school, plopped on my couch. I'm thinking, how can I help? How can I contribute to the community? And then it clicked. I said, women are reaching out to me every day asking me questions about this. Why not just build it? So I sat on my sofa, my rickety old laptop. I had no experience in web design, graphic design, putting any of this together. But I just said, all we need is the information. Women will find it and they'll be empowered to make better choices. So sat down, we built it, and it's been an incredible experience having the platform grow along with my journey with the women who are following the Previvor, and it's continuing to grow today. So my viral moment started very organically. I had shared my decision to have a mastectomy with a friend. She shared it with a friend who shared it with a friend, and it was really this sort of snowball effect of going from one person to the other. And before I knew it, it was on the cover of people.com. And I thought it would be maybe this tiny little segment here in the corner, but it ended up really igniting this greater conversation about women's healthcare. And before I knew it, we were doing every show really all over the world. And it thrust me in this position of sort of being the thought leader or the spokesperson for preventative healthcare. And I was just a 20-something-year-old girl making this very difficult decision to have a surgery. I wasn't an expert. I really knew nothing other than this was an important decision for me. So what gave me the idea for the Previvor was that I had literally thousands of women who were sort of sliding in the DMs, asking these very personal questions about my reconstruction, about the options that were available, asking me like I was an expert and all I was someone who had navigated this themselves. I had collected the information. I had reached out to other women. They had given me information. And it really was this sort of crowdsourcing of ideas, of information, this community of women who were building support systems for each other. And I thought, let's take all of that information, let's put it in one easily digestible, easily accessible place for women to go to learn about their options and feel empowered about their decisions. What research tells us is that women who are active in the decision-making for their surgeries, for their healthcare choices, are always happier with the outcome, even if the outcome is worse. Feeling empowered, feeling like your voice matters is so vitally important in happiness after a procedure like this. So that was the important thing for me. I wanted to put women back in the driver's seat of their healthcare choices. I wanted them to confidently be able to walk into their doctor's office, and when the doctor said, here's the one option for you, out the door you go, they could say, actually, no, here are all the options available for me. And if you're not willing to give me the one that's most appropriate for my lifestyle, I'm finding a new doctor. Experiencing that viral moment absolutely changed my life. It changed the trajectory of everything that I was doing. I wanted to become a constitutional attorney. That's where I was headed. And I just knew that I've been given this incredible platform, this incredible opportunity. You know, lightning doesn't strike twice, they always say. And I said, what can I do with the platform that I've been given? It changed my life in the sense that I now get to work in purpose-driven field where every day women are working together to make this process easier for others. And that's what the Previvor is. It's a platform to make this challenging decision in your life a little bit easier. The last thing you want to do is Google mastectomy. It's scary. Google, internet, it's not a great place in the breast cancer space. So I wanted something that was beautiful. It made women feel comfortable. They are able to go learn about their options in a safe place. And there wasn't much of that out on the internet. There's information, you got to piece it together here and there, but nothing comprehensive. But the Previvor is here to help be that resource for you. Being a Previvor is something that I am incredibly proud of. And this is something that's going to make me emotional. But when I first started talking about having this decision, I talked about my future husband, my future children. And I'm sitting here now, 10 years post-mastectomy. I'm married, I have 2 beautiful children. I've done IVF with genetic testing, and I've made sure that my sad family legacy of breast cancer ends with me. And I've done that through the power of previvorship. I've owned my power in prevention. And now I'm able to look at my children and know that I took every step that I possibly could to be here for them. I am now mothering motherless. I've gone through all of these wonderful experiences in my life without my mom. And I'm grateful for everything that I have, but it would be much better having my mom there. But I know now that my little girls are going to have me through those special moments in their life. And they're going to have me because I am a Previvor. And I've done this for them. And there are so many women out there navigating these very difficult decisions. There are women finding out by accident that they have a breast cancer gene mutation. They're scared, they don't know what to do. And that's what the Previvor is to be a safe place for them to navigate this, to know that they're not alone and that they have options. The most incredible thing about this platform is that it's continuing to grow every day. It's growing with my story and it's growing with the women who are in this community. I'm constantly feeling like I'm learning new things. I'm having women reach out to me with problems, with issues, and the platform is just growing with them. And I feel like we're all kind of walking through the stage of life. Women who are Previvors, they're in this real unique niche where this is nothing that women ever had to navigate before. We weren't armed with genetic information knowing that we're predisposed to cancer. So this new generation of women navigating this, trying to figure out what's the best thing that they can do for them, whether that's additional screening, preventative surgery, the choice is yours. And I just feel like the Previvor is going to continue to grow. It's going to continue to adapt. And it's so much more than one person's story. I always say it's her story, your story, our story. We're in this together. And all of the women in this community, they are the Previvor. They are the ones that are building this amazing comprehensive resource to help women that come after them better navigate. I think in having a mastectomy, a lot of women feel like this is the end of the road for them when it comes to beauty, in terms of feeling sexy. They're having to make this decision. It's either this or that. And they'd rather live, so it means giving up all of this. And I felt the same way. So I was 30 years old. I'm post-mastectomy. I think that my modeling days are behind me. There's no way that anyone's going to look at me as feminine or beautiful ever again. Like, I'm healthy, that's the most important thing, but like all those other wonderful milestones that I have for my life, done. But I had this incredible opportunity to model for Sports Illustrated, this iconic brand for American beauty. And what was really special about it is I remember I put on that swimsuit, I was about ready to walk down the runway, and I realized that I was the representation that I had needed. And the only person that was getting in the way of me accomplishing my dreams was me. So I now had this wonderful opportunity to be the representation for other women so that they don't feel like their life ends at mastectomy. I was able to have this therapeutic moment for me, knowing that, hey, my life didn't end. The world is my oyster. Here I am achieving one of those great dreams that I had for my life. Post-30, post-mastectomy, none of that mattered. Undergoing a mastectomy, no matter where you are in your headspace, is an incredibly challenging emotional procedure. Your breasts impact how you face the world, your confidence, your femininity, all of that. And I look back to my mom's story. My mom had an invasive breast cancer at 27, And she chose not to remove that second breast, not to have a preventative procedure, because she thought, this is the only thing that I have left. And she unfortunately was diagnosed, passed away, because she refused to have that preventative surgery. And I know firsthand, I've been through this. I've looked in the mirror after surgery and thought, what have I done? But now I feel like being on the other side of it, realizing that this is something you can do. You can have a positive cosmetic outcome. You can live a long, beautiful, fulfilled life post-surgery. And I think so much of the fear is wrapped up in this idea of the unknown. And that's why the Previvor is here. I didn't want there to be unknown for women. I wanted them to be able to go access information and be able to take a deep breath after accessing this information, knowing, okay, it's all here. I don't have to do the research. I can go and advocate for my doctor, and I can move on with my life. I think in navigating a procedure like this, it's very easy to have anxiety and to feel emotional around it. But I think that women who are armed with all of the information, all of the choices, and if they're able to make that and navigate it for themselves, they feel more confident in the outcome. I know for me, I needed to become Dr. Google, totally hoard all of the information, get it there so that I felt like I was making an informed decision about my health. And that gave me confidence and peace going into a procedure like this. And that's what I want the Previvor to be for women. I want them to be able to go and feel like they have all the information in one place. I've talked to countless women who have gone into doctors' offices who have only offered them one option. And you usually take your doctor's advice as gospel truth. You think, okay, this person is giving me all of the best advice. Surely they would give me all of the information that I need. And unfortunately, that's not always the case. So the Previvor is something you can literally have in your pocket, on your phone, bring it into your doctor's office and say, but what about this? You deserve to have a great doctor. You deserve to have somebody who is having your best interests at heart and is open and receptive to what you want for you, your lifestyle, and your own body.